Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. This is Monica Main, and welcome to a new frontier. We're actually going to be doing this entire seminar from my house in Southern California. So, as you know, all of us are kind of holed up here in California as Governor Newsom is requiring everybody to sit at home and sit tight. I think it's because of the sheer number of people here in Southern California, actually California as a whole. We have, I think, over 40 million people. So that's a lot of people that have to sit at home. And we're only allowed to go out if we're working and we are running errands, which is basically my entire life right there. So I guess my life is really not going to change much in comparison to many other people. But what did change is that I'm going to be doing this entire seminar from my house. And so I would show you my video of what I look like right now, but I'm actually in my pajamas. And the reason I'm in my pajamas is because I wanted to illustrate just how powerful the business is that I'm going to be putting you in, to the point where you can actually run your entire business if you truly wanted to from your house in your pajamas. So I guess it's kind of fitting for what's going on in today's day and age, because not only am I having to change the entire way that I do business now, and everybody is going to be doing business now, but also too, this is the only business that I know of that can actually allow you to do this all the time. So as we all know, things are going to probably at some point blow over. Life is going to continue on as it always has. Yes, we are in now technically a recession. And the good news for you is that this is a really good time to get started in this business. And I'm going to show you why and how as we go along here for the next 3 days. So welcome aboard, everybody. Like I said, this is a new frontier for all of us, and I'm really excited about doing this from my house. And I'm also excited too because I can actually do things that I've never done before at an event. I could do what I call a deep dive. I could actually go into some really intimate nooks and crannies, if you will, of my actual business in a way that I've actually never done before. And so that's part of what I plan on bringing to you in these next 3 days during this event. All right. And also too, it allows you to replay. And as we go through, every single break, if you will, I'll be able to start uploading some of these videos for you so that you could actually ideally have everything within a couple of hours after every segment concludes. Okay. So the way this is going to rock and roll here is that I actually have it set up to where we have regular breaks. So the first break is going to be in approximately an hour and a half from now. We'll take a 15-minute break, and then you need to go into your email and click on the link for the next segment, which will be starting at, I think it's around 10:45 Pacific time. So you need to click on that, and then you'll be allowed into the next segment. And then we will conclude for our lunch break at around noon, and that'll go between noon and 1:30, and then at 1:30 Pacific time we'll begin our second part of the day. And so this will actually keep us on track, because usually I'll go over on my breaks in my events. If any of you have been part of my events, you know that I kind of skip some of the breaks or kind of prolong the breaks. And so this will kind of keep us on track. But the other good news is that there won't be a lot of time wasted, where I believe that, when I do my events, things are just not as tight as I'd like them to be. So I'm really, really excited about bringing this to you from my house in Southern California. And I'm also too proud of the fact that I'm actually able to do this for you instead of just completely canceling like a lot of people did, because I have to say, I can't wait till October. So for those of you that are already registered for this event, which would basically be everyone who's part of this live stream right now, you are already automatically going into the October event that's coming up in Detroit. So the Detroit venue has not changed. It's just that the dates have changed because of the coronavirus. So all of you are automatically part of the October event, which the dates, I want you to write them down, are October 4th, 5th, and 6th. So again, it's October 4th, 5th, and 6th in Detroit. The venue is not changed. It's the same venue in Detroit. All of you should have received all of that information. I did send you out another packet. Some of you will have already received it before this live streaming. Some of you are going to have to wait until maybe during the live stream in the next day or so to receive your priority packet. And then those of you in Canada, I have 4 of you in Canada, unfortunately you're not going to get the packet until like after this live stream is over with, but it's all going to confirm the new dates in October in Detroit that all of you are going to be part of automatically. And, you'll just basically change your reservation to that point. It's going to take me about a day or so to get the link for the hotel information but I will get that to you shortly, and I'll send you an email about that. And also, too, that information is on the packet, in the packet that you're receiving. You're also going to notice in your packet that there's a book, my latest book called Zero Down. And for those of you that don't get the packet during the live streaming, I'll actually show you how to actually download my new book called Zero Down, because we're going to be doing a project with that book together. And as we go along in this live stream, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the extra bonus is that I promised all of you, because I give you, kind of some awesome bonuses for hanging out with me and understanding that we had to cancel the venue and the event. And that, because of that, I'm offering you some awesome bonuses. And so one of the bonuses is one that I'm actually going to announce as we go along in this group for the next 3 days together. So it's a pretty awesome bonus, but it's going to require a little bit of homework on your part. Not a lot, just a little bit. I think it's super easy, quite honestly, especially for the bonus that you're about to get. So welcome, everybody. So congratulations. We are now on a new frontier, officially doing a live stream event from my house in Southern California. I think this is really awesome to actually be on that cutting edge. But how fitting is it? Think about it. How fitting is it? I mean, this is the Internet Cash Flow Money Funnel 4.0 Bootcamp seminar, and we're actually doing it on the internet. Okay, so I mean, isn't it like perfect? I would say it's perfect. And as I mentioned, this is the perfect time to get started in this business. I'm going to explain to you as we go along why, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's going to be a lot of people out there now looking for different opportunities, and every single type of business that I'm going to talk about as we get into more so day 2 and day 3 is going to be mostly opportunity based. And this is when you make a lot of money in the opportunity business and the opportunity space. The main 3 wheelhouses that I typically focus on are the business opportunity wheelhouses, which has to do with making money online. The other one is real estate, and the other one is stock trading. And all 3 of those are really going to do well as the months go on here, because a lot of people are already losing their jobs, and they're immediately going to start looking for additional things that they could do from home, because just like what happened with post 2008, where a lot of industries were completely wiped out and changed for forever, you're going to also notice that too with this whole virus thing, that a lot of things are also going to change. The way people vacation is going to change. The way people, I don't even know if the cruise industry will ever be the same again. There's just a lot of things that are going to be forever changed, and it's going to knock out some industries. But, I was actually having a debate with the lady at the grocery store yesterday when I actually had to get some stuff, which is, as you know, it's never again will I ever complain about going to the grocery store, because it's like things have just it's been work to go to the grocery store to find anything. It's like you're on a scavenger hunt at the grocery store these days. And the checkout lady was just wanting to do this whole doom and gloom thing with me, and I told her, I'm like, with every disaster there's always opportunity, and with every disaster there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always a rainbow after the storm. Things are always, they change, but there's always goodness that comes out of terribleness, if that makes sense. And she just didn't want to see it that way. And I told her, I'm like, sometimes this actually forces change where people were not willing to make change. Like, for example, with the coal mining industry, everybody's trying to fight over keeping the coal mining industry. It's like, that's stupid. That's ridiculous. It's like, why would anybody ever want to do that? Because coal mining is killing people. It's, creating black lung and other diseases and health issues. So it's almost like trying to keep the buggy whip business going because people need to make money at the buggy whip business. Well, I'm sorry. Why don't you just create a new industry like, windmills, for example, and solar energy? Those are huge, huge multi-billion-dollar industries. But instead, everybody wants to focus on, the few that need to make money in coal mining and buggy whip business making and all this other stuff. It's like, no, with this change, these types of changes forces newness. It forces goodness. And there's always a silver lining in everything. So I want everybody to understand that, okay? As we go into this, I know that things are a little chaotic now, and they don't need to be. You just need to understand that I get excited about times like these because I know that this is where the opportunity lies, and it's in times like now where everybody's scrambling around and running for the hills, and this is where the opportunity is. And I want you guys to see it, and you will see it as we go along in this powerful 3-day adventure together. All right. So this is the Monica Main webinar series. It's not a seminar. It's actually a webinar series. I am live streaming, like I mentioned, from my Southern California home here. And again, we are on a new frontier together. So I'm really excited because I can get into the deep nuances and intimacies of my business in a way that I've never, ever done before. So it's going to be a treat for all of you. So what this is about is obviously it's about making money online using the most cutting edge methods and opportunities that are out there for you. You can build a home-based internet business from scratch within the next few weeks or less. You can actually ramp it up to $20,000 a month or more in net profits in 90 days or less. I'm going to show you how to do that mostly today. And then, of course, as we go along in the next couple of days, I'm really going to unfold things for you. Now, I also want to warn you, too. This is kind of like broken up in a 3-day time frame, as you know. But day one is going to be the most basic stuff that you could do. Like any of you could do it. You could whip up a business in a couple days doing that. And then day two is going to be more of the intermediate money funnel building. And then the day three is going to be advanced marketing strategy. So that's how I have it set up. Is day one is simple, beginning. Day two is intermediate. Day three is advanced. If you guys can keep track mentally on that. And so that's how I have this set up. So today I'm going to actually be talking about an opportunity that I think I've only once told my students, and this was a while back. And I actually had to reconnect with one of my students about how he's doing and where he's at with it, just to be able to do this presentation for you guys today. And what he's doing is absolutely freaking amazing. I actually almost fell out of my chair when he told me how much money he was making doing this. And I'm going to show you what he's doing, exactly what he's doing. And I haven't shared this with my students in a long time. And I think I only presented it once. And this was because he gave me permission to present it to you guys once. And this was a few years back. And I've only done that presentation for a live group one time, and I've never done it again because I didn't want to violate, what my promise was with him. And then I connected with him last week, and I'm just amazed at how much money he's making doing this. And this is almost like an old school internet marketing strategy that all of you can actually start in the next couple of days if you'd like. And I'm going to show you how that works today in my presentation that I have lined up for you. So this is going to be some awesome stuff that I'm going to be presenting to you. Some of it's going to be brand new stuff. Some of it's going to be older school stuff that still works really, really well. But my goal here is that I want to set you up in a business that's not going to really change for at least 5 years or so. So yeah, some of the marketing strategies will change. Some of your Facebook ads might change, for example, or your YouTube ads might change. But the consistent basis of your business should not have to change for at least 5 years or longer. But if you're going to do this and you're going to do this well with me, you do have to understand that you're going to be thinking outside of the box. You're not going to be doing any of the stuff that other gurus talk about. Listen, I spend a lot of money trying to keep my skill set as razor sharp as possible. The last thing that I attended was in Nashville back in January. God, it seems like 100 years ago, doesn't it? January. And so I attended this event trying to keep my skill set as cutting edge as possible because internet above all else changes so fast. And I was really shocked and disappointed to find that the entire day that I went to this seminar for, this internet event for, was for the traffic session. And the traffic session, first of all, was cut into a half a day instead of being a full day like I anticipated. And second of all, they really didn't cover anything new about traffic at all. And I was really disappointed because the whole element and I guess you could say the whole reason anybody would ever be successful in this business of internet marketing is getting traffic. Because it's one thing to have a website set up, it's another to have traffic coming in, and that makes or breaks whether or not you're successful in this business. And so I was really saddened by going all the way out there, spending 3.5 days out there just to realize that they had nothing to talk about when it came to traffic except the same old stuff that really isn't working anymore, like Facebook and other things, And so I want to show you the things that actually are working. And I pride myself in bringing you things that nobody else will ever bring to you because nobody else either will bring it to you because they're real people in the business working these strategies and they're not willing to share what they're doing, or things that gurus will talk about. And then when they actually lead you down the primrose path with the promises of telling you how to do these things, you get to the end of the path and they tell you nothing. So this is going to be a treat for you guys because coming through this for the full 3 days, starting with beginning to intermediate through advanced strategies, you're going to be shocked at how much there is. Now, I'm going to warn you, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to be bringing to you. There's going to be tons of ideas and concepts. And what I want you to do is focus on 1 or 2 or 3 things that you could do. Don't think that you have to do everything. You do not have to do everything. You should not do everything. Just really lockjaw on 1 or 2 key concepts or components that you really want to flesh out and take to the finish line. Don't try to do everything, because you're not going to be able to do everything. In fact, I would never even embark upon doing everything, because there's just too much that's going to be presented in these next 3 days. So you need to just focus on one type of business, one type of concept, and really focus on that. And don't try to do everything, because there's going to be a lot that's going to be presented to you, and you're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're going to feel like your brain is mush mosh by the time we conclude on day 3. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Monica covered this, and that. Am I trying to do everything? Should I do everything? No. You do not do everything. In fact, everything I'm going to be talking about today is actually going to be kind of self-encapsulated, if you will. So the stuff I talk about today really isn't going to be stuff that's going to parlay into tomorrow, if that makes sense. So if you really truly wanted to make, upwards of $90,000 or $100,000 a month with the concept that I'm talking about today, you could only focus on today if you wanted to, and not really focus on anything I'm going to be talking about tomorrow or the next day, if that's really what you want to do. Or you could say, yeah, I don't really know about this whole thing that Monica's talking about today. Let's see what she has to talk about tomorrow and the next day, and we'll focus on that. Now, the stuff that I talk about tomorrow and the next day, they're going to be kind of go hand in hand with one another. But the stuff I talk about today, again, is going to be completely self-encapsulated, meaning that if you just want to focus on what I'm doing today and nothing else I talk about in the next 2 days, that's completely fine. And that'll bring you upwards to the numbers I'm talking about. And even if I'm short on my numbers, say I'm completely out of my mind, you're thinking, Monica's just said I could make between 90 and 100,000 a month with this. And that's true, you could. But what if I was completely short and you were only able to make between 90 and 100,000 a year? Wouldn't you be happy with that? I know I would be, especially if I knew that I wanted to let go of my job, or maybe I'm being terminated from my job or laid off. I definitely would be happy with 90 to 100,000 a year. And I would be like, okay, well, my goal is to work up to 90 or 100,000 a month, but maybe 90 or 100,000 is enough for me right now until I can get my legs going and I could just fully take off with this. So, I hope that kind of makes sense to you, that maybe you won't start off with that kind of money, but you could certainly work your way up to that. And the starting point of this is pretty solid and pretty good as far as making a ton of money doing this. Okay. So this is really, I'm really excited for what I have to actually present to you today, because a lot of you are going to be like, well, this is kind of old school marketing online, but I can't believe you could still make money doing this. And you absolutely can. So I'm going to show you this. Now I have to actually do all this legal notice stuff as per legal counsel that's given me, counsel in the past about doing these types of events, is that I make the best attempt to provide accurate and timely information. However, certain information, especially laws, and of course, Facebook algorithms and other things do change over time. But for today, I'm doing the best job that I possibly can to give you timely and accurate information. Of course, I'm not an attorney, so anything that I talk about, especially when I talk about the business building aspects and filing your corporate resolution paperwork and all that, which we're going to go over shortly, that's the best legal advice that I have, but you shouldn't construe it as legal advice from an attorney that's licensed in your state, or advice from a CPA that's licensed in your state. So you do need to know that. And of course, by attending or showing up to this event, I'm no way guaranteeing your success. Just because you're here watching me talk about this stuff doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful, unless of course you get off your ass and do something about it, which we all know, but I do have to tell you anyway. Okay. So enough with all the legal notices. I just wanted to bring this up. So this is me, my daughter, and my dad, and this was actually taken a year ago, in Pisa in Italy. And we all know what's going on in Italy. And it really saddens me to know all the things that are going on. And so my prayers are with the Italians right now. My dad is actually Italian. He wasn't born in Italy, but his grandparents were. And he grew up in the full Italian household. He grew up speaking Italian and understanding Italian, and eating pasta and the whole 9 yards. So it was really a dream vacation for me to take him there, because he had never been to Italy or anywhere for that matter. So after that, I actually took him to Hawaii for his 70th birthday, which was last year. And he just, I think about this trip all the time, because I think about now, here we are a year later, and you can't even go to Italy, and all the freedoms that we have that we don't realize that we take for granted every day, even down to buying bread and milk in the grocery store these days, at least for us here in Southern California, is very difficult now. And these are things that we used to take for granted. Going to a restaurant, being able to travel, all of these things that we take for granted that we have in this wonderful, beautiful country of the United States of America. And, of course, that also includes you Canadians, because I have 4 Canadians that are also listening to me right now. You guys too have it good. We all have it good here in Northern America. And, maybe this is a lesson for all of us to take a step back and to be forced to take a step back by the US government, to sit at home and to really kind of contemplate how good we really have it here in the United States and in Canada and other first world countries, where sometimes we take things for granted because we think that, life was really truly given to us on a silver platter. Even those of us who aren't doing as well as we'd like to, you guys think that you're not doing really well, but you have every opportunity afforded to you to do so great. A couple years ago, I actually took a cruise, again, something else that we can't do anymore. And we actually went down the Italian coast, and I actually landed in Palermo, which is Sicily, the Sicilian area. And I actually was at the dock where my ancestors, my dad's parents, came from when they left Italy for the first time over 100 years ago. And it was just really a sobering moment for me, just to know what they came from and for them to take the risk. It was a risk back then, because back then, over 100 years ago, I mean, they had just gotten, they had all these different economic issues and all these different, diseases and illnesses at that time. And to be able to, decide to take a journey that would last months on a boat, a small boat, to go to the United States of America, not knowing if you'd even survive the journey there, let alone what you were going to do when you got there. What were you going to do? You didn't know the culture, you didn't know English, you didn't know anything. And all of these immigrants that came, I mean, your ancestors probably too, that came to this country, coming over with nothing and with no security, with no inkling of what they were going to do. And they came and they rolled up their freaking sleeves and they worked their asses off to be able to provide the life that you have now. And so it bothers me when my students come to me and they're like, oh, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do that because of that. And I'm trying to make my internet website work, and it's not working because these two things are not integrated together. I'm like, do you have any idea how difficult it was for your ancestors that came over to this country into a new culture, not having any idea how they were going to make it, but they made it anyway, and they did it for you. They did it to make a better life for you. And for anybody to sit and whine and complain about how it's difficult to integrate this website, or that they're too lazy to watch this YouTube video to integrate that, and it's like, come on, people, do you have any idea how difficult it was for your ancestors and how easy we actually have it here? So I've been building some sites for some of the students that are part of my 100K and 100 Days Mastery Mentorship Group. And I build these sites for them because I want to make sure everybody has a complete and total set of website funnels completely built. And I had this one lady the other day, she was telling me, Monica, you're such a genius with all of this. And she was just like awestruck and shocked, because the way I do it is it's like a one-on-one webinar with you guys where you can actually talk to me, but you see everything that I'm doing on the screen in your system. And she was just awestruck by this. She's like, are there other people that know how to do this as well as you? I'm like, yeah, there's like millions of people that know how to do this better than me. Okay. So the reason I know how to do this as proficiently as I have is because I've been in this system for 5 years. And then I've been on other systems that I've had for over a dozen years. And so I know how all of these things kind of work together, but it's done by practice over and over again. And she was just shocked that anybody knew how to do this, especially as proficient as I know how to do it. It's like, well, because you do it over and over again, and you back yourself into a corner where you don't have a choice. This becomes your livelihood. And when this becomes your livelihood, you don't make any more excuses. And so I just want to remind all of you that this is really a good time, even though it seems scary out there. First of all, I should strongly suggest that you all stop watching the news effective immediately, because that really does feed into the fear mongering that's going on within the media and the government and everything else. And we just don't want to be inundated with fear. But the other thing I want to remind you is maybe this is a really good time for all of us to sit at home and take a step back and realize just how good we have it. We really have it good. We have an exceptional life. And even though financially you might not be experiencing life the way you need it or want it to be, you have the opportunity in ways that even people on the other side of the world don't have opportunity. Still to this day, you have opportunity like you would not believe. And because of that, you can change your life around in just a matter of days and weeks just by listening to the things that I'm going to teach you. Even if you just focus on what I'm teaching you today and none of the other days, you have the opportunity to completely and totally change the entire trajectory of your life. You just have to change your mindset first. You have to change how you think. You have to stop telling yourself that you can't do it. You have to stop telling yourself it's too hard. You have to stop telling yourself there's no opportunity, because the opportunity is freaking everywhere. It's everywhere. So when I went into the store, even though there was barely anything on the shelves because of everything that's going on, I focused on what was there. And what I did see was abundance. I saw, okay, well, there's really not as much lettuce as I'd like there to be, but there's definitely lettuce I can buy right now, and how grateful I feel for at least having this little bit here, because I really don't need to buy up the whole store of lettuce. I just need this little bit of lettuce, right? And so things like that, just focus on what is there, even if the whole world seems to be, I don't know, desperate and not abundant like we'd like it to be. So this is a really good time for us to really change our priorities. So I talked to my dad the other day, and he was still talking about the Italian trip. I'm like, I don't even realize how blessed we were to be on that trip, because here we are a year later and we can't even go to Italy anymore. And I promised my dad that I would take him at least one more time. And I'm hoping that I do have that chance before he passes away. He's in really good health, by the way, but mentally he's not all there always. Um, but the things you don't appreciate until it's too late. You know what I mean? So I will be taking my dad back to Italy. Hopefully it'll be next year. But you know what? I want to mention, this business I'm in allows me that leverage, allows me the opportunity to be able to take my daughter all around the world. I've taken her to so many different places. And it's because of this business, folks. It's because of the business I'm going to be teaching you about this weekend that is giving me that financial freedom like no other. All right. So I'm going to be showing you absolutely everything. I'm going to be actually peeling back the curtain on some of the most intimate parts of my business in the next couple of days, mostly over the weekend, where in a way that I've never done before. And I'm going to show you absolutely everything. I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm not going to hold back. Okay. So for those of you that actually hang out with me over this entire weekend, you're going to see exactly how my entire business works and how I do as well as I do in this business. And you'll be able to take what I give you, and you could either take it to become highly successful, or you could just basically park it on a shelf. That option is obviously for you to make. But I strongly suggest you do not do that, because I've been in this business a long time and I constantly keep my skill set sharp. And I could tell you what other people have to offer out there as far as this kind of training is doesn't even hold a candle to what I'm going to give to you. And I'm not doing that to brag. I'm just doing that to tell you that most of the people out there that teach internet marketing don't know what the hell they're doing, or they're teaching stuff that's based on theory and doesn't work in the real world, or they don't really care what they give to you. They give you part of the information. They'll give you like half the picture or a quarter of the picture, because they don't want to reveal all of their true secrets, because they don't want competition. So they only give you part of the story. And then unfortunately, the part that they don't give you is the part that you really need to be successful. I will give you everything that you need to know. But again, I'm doing this in stages so that you could pick and choose what kind of business you want to be in, starting with what I have to cover with you today. Okay, so I'm just really excited about what I have to cover with you today, because this is going to be a really awesome, awesome strategy. But first, I have to take you back a little bit. All right. And I have to kind of line this up and set this up for you. Imagine that this is your life. Of course, probably not your life, because it looks like this picture was taken maybe in the 1950s, somewhere in that circa. Can't believe that was Southern California back then. In fact, one thing I wanted to briefly mention is that a lot of people they don't really see how much change we've made with our with what we can do with the global climate changes. But if you can see, there's a little bit of haze in this picture. Now you probably think, oh, well, it's probably because it was taken a long time ago. Well, actually, Southern California, when I first moved here back in 1987, it's been over 30 years since I've lived in Southern California. I remember coming here in the 80s, and you actually had smog. We actually called it smog, and it looked like fog, but it was this really like gross brown color, almost like what a dirty fish tank would look like. It was this gross, dirty brown color. And fast forward all these years later, when they've made all these emission changes and requirements, even though a lot of people get pissed off about that kind of stuff, it's really made an incredible 180-degree change in our skyline. That heavy, dark brown is no longer there anymore. So these changes that we make, even as minute as they seem to be, and as people are like, oh, all of the changes we've been making, it's just all of the government trying to, make it harder for everybody to do business. No, no, no. It's actually doing a lot of good when it comes to the environment, as much as we could possibly do. So I just wanted to mention that to you. 30 years ago, when I came to this state, it was nothing like what it is today. So just wanted to mention that. But imagine this being your life, though. This probably is your life. This was rush hour back then. I mean, if you complain about the Southern California freeways now, I mean, take it back to the 50s and 60s, and it was still like that. I mean, it hasn't changed. And there's a lot of people that, end up going to work and having to sit on this, every single day. But imagine you having a completely different life where you could take a completely different off ramp to where you can actually have the life that you want, where you never sit on the freeway. The only time I ever go on the freeway is when I'm going to LAX or Burbank Airport to fly out someplace. Other than that, I never go on the freeway anymore for almost anything. And so it's because I built a life and a business that makes me as much money as I needed to. I essentially write my own checks for whatever amount I want, and I never have to worry about, going on the freeway or having to punch a time card or even having to wake up in the morning. Even these days now that my daughter's off of school, because of everything that's been going on, I mean, I wake up whenever I want to. In fact, I had to set an alarm clock just to be able to make this 3-day meeting with you guys, because normally I just allow myself to sleep in now, which is freaking awesome. And no other business in the world is going to allow you this type of leverage. So you do have to, though, take the road less traveled, and it's going to take some work on your part. Is it going to be a lot of work? No. Is it going to be the work that your ancestors had to do when they first came to this country to ultimately build a better life for their kids, their grandkids, and their great grandkids? No. Is it going to be like ditch digging or strawberry picking or, no. It's not going to be hard work like that, but it's going to take some time to kind of put everything together and to actually do the stuff that I'm teaching you how to do. However, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. And so we can now take the road less traveled, the road that's not congested, and the road that's going to allow you to streamline your success in the fastest possible way imaginable. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be bringing to you in the next 3 days. But first, this is really important, because I find that there's a lot of people that psych themselves out before they even start. Like, for example, there was this email that I got, which kind of irritated me. And these things don't typically irritate me, but I'll tell you why it irritated me. So there was this young lady who sent me an email, and she had recently purchased my 100K in 100 days kit. It's like a book kit, which includes a flash drive, an audio seminar, and a map. And I send that out to everybody. And so she bought this kit, and she was immediately asking for a refund before she even got the kit, because she decided between the time she purchased the kit, which is, by the way, I should mention, $44, and the time that she's going to receive it, which is going to be any day now, that she couldn't do this. She's already decided that before she even started. And I was irritated because not because of the $44, I can care less about giving a refund on that, but it was because she already psyched herself out before she even started, before she even understood what the business was, before she understood what the business could do for her. And all she had was an entire email which listed every single excuse. Oh, my mother's on dialysis, and and blah, 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 blah. Well, none of these things came to your mind when you initially decided to pull the trigger to order the kit. Obviously, none of that came to mind. But after you ordered the kit, within a day or so, you decided that you couldn't do the business because of all of these excuses. And again, we go back to our ancestors and what they had to deal with when they first got to this country to make a better life for you ultimately down the road. And they didn't have any excuses, because there were no excuses to be had. They literally cut all their ties to being able to go back to their old country. And they decided that they were going to make this work no matter what. And that's, I think, one of the benefits of, I know Damon John actually has a book out there called The Power of Broke. And he talks about this in this book, where there is power in being broke. And the reason you have that power is because your back is up against the wall. You have no other choice. You have to make it work, or you're going to perish. You're going to completely die. And so that's the power of having no other choices, no other options. And that's why our ancestors did make it in this great country of ours, is because they did not have a choice. They had to make it. There was no other choice. Well, the problem that other people have when they have choices is that they make excuses then. Oh, this seems a little too hard, or there's too many steps for me to do. So therefore, I'm going to, I'm going to make 1,000 excuses or 1,001 excuses. And unfortunately, you can't make those excuses, because if you're going to ever succeed, there's no excuses to be had. There is none. So just in the mere fact that this young woman was making all these excuses, I finally told her. I actually sent an email back. I'm like, I'm sorry you've decided that you don't want to be successful with this before you've even started, or before you've even gotten the kit in the mail. You have no idea what this even is, but you've already made a decision as to why or how you were not going to be successful. That's part of mindset. And that's part of the broke mindset. And so when you have a broke mindset, unfortunately, you're never going to be successful. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is breaking free and breaking past that mindset. And so that's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes here, is getting past that brokenness that you have inside of you. So Beachbody, I buy like every video that they've ever come out with, starting with, I think, P90X, and then I'm all into the Shaun T videos until I rolled my ankle, the insanity workouts, and all of the stuff that they have there. I'm now into the 3-week yoga retreat, which they also have. So Beachbody is a multi-billion-dollar company that makes all of these workout videos, but they also make a lot of money off continuity, which we're going to talk about as we go along here in these 3 days. And so continuity is when you get an auto shipment of something every single month. So they like to sell something called Shakeology, which makes them a lot of money. In fact, the bulk of what they make is on their Shakeology auto shipment, which is this really gross tasting. My daughter says it tastes like poison. These shakes that I guess are protein, nutritional shakes that they make. So that's how they make the bulk of their money. But they have a slogan, and it's decide, commit, succeed. And if you think about it on the surface, that really isn't a lot. But if you think about every single step in and of itself, by itself, decide. So in the moment of making a decision, the Latin roots of the word decide means to cut off. It means to cut off. And in other words, you're cutting off any and all other options by deciding. And so I don't know if you have made a really critical decision in your life when you were at a crossroads, where you made a decision and all of a sudden you felt like the weight of the world was off your shoulders the very moment you made that decision. And you felt like your energy was immediately elevated, and you felt like you can conquer the world just by making a decision. You didn't even do anything with the decision yet, but just by making the decision, you felt that there was a huge weight lifted off your shoulders, and you felt like you could float on cloud 9. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I know I have. Just in the mere decision aspect, before you even do a single thing to go toward your goal. And so to decide is a super, super powerful thing. And then once you decide, you then have to make the full commitment. So just because you decided doesn't mean that you've committed to going the whole way or the full way with it. So the second step is to commit to it and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this work. And then just by doing those two things, and to keep on the track and the trajectory of your success path, you will ultimately succeed if you continue going along on the path. And so that is a really powerful slogan that I wanted to bring to you, because it really does define success. It defines success in the most simplistic way possible: to decide something, to commit to something, and to succeed. So the business proposition that I'm going to be bringing to you today, I'm hoping that you're able to decide and then ultimately commit to doing it and then succeeding. And I'm going to show you exactly how the entire business works, whereas you could actually, do the business. I'm going to outline everything that you need to do, and you could decide whether or not you'll do the business or not. But this, like I said before, this entire presentation I'll be doing today is a self-encapsulated business, meaning that if you do nothing that I talk about the next couple of days, you don't have to. But the business I'm going to be telling you about today can make you between 90 and 100,000 a month. Or if you're really a big quote unquote failure at it, it can make you between 90 and 100,000 a year in net profits, which I wouldn't say that that's a failure. But if you're really doing very poorly about this, you can actually, make between 90 and 100,000 a year. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. All right. So it all starts with your personal responsibility and accountability, right? The problem, let's go back to that email that I had with that young lady, and it seemed to me like she was just making a bunch of excuses. Yes, I understand that we have maybe family members who are sick and ill that we have to take care of, or we have children that we have to take care of, or we have a spouse we have to take care of. But those are just a bunch of excuses, okay? At the end of the day, you just have to roll up your sleeves and do the extra work and do the extra stuff. So I always use I have a lawyer who's a part of my groups a lot, and her name is Nichelle, and she works about 60 to 80 hours a week. And yet every single time I give her a homework assignment or some kind of assignment to do and follow through with, she makes the time to get it done. All right. She makes the time. So she's working between 60 and 80 hours a week at a law firm. And at the same time, she's always somehow being able to make this work. She never makes excuses. She knows that she has to be accountable because I put her on task for something and I expect it to get done. And so she's always held accountable by me, usually, but she takes responsibility. So she doesn't have a list of excuses. And so this is when I always turn the tables on everybody else who's like, I don't have the time because of blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, you can make the time. You can lay off the Candy Crush on your phone. You can stop watching all these ridiculous shows on TV. You can make the time somehow. You could spend an extra hour on a Saturday and an hour on a Sunday to be able to make this work. And so, there's ways that you can make this work. And if you want to make excuses, that's fine. Everybody's got stuff to do. I'm a single parent. I have to take sole and exclusive responsibility for my daughter fiscally and physically and legally and medically and otherwise. And yet I'm able to make it work. And if I'm able to make this work, and I work several businesses actually, and I have a lot of investments and other things that I'm doing at all times, and yet I'm always able to make my life work, all right, because I make it a priority. I don't come up with a list of excuses. And so even in the mere aspect of making a list of excuses, you are losing time, valuable time, just by making excuses. And so you have to take personal responsibility and you have to take personal accountability. And if you're not willing to do either one of those things, you're never going to be successful, not just with this, but with anything you do. And the reason I'm telling you all of this now is because a lot of you might say, okay, well, this might not be the business for me, but maybe I'll try a different business or I'll try a different thing. And that's fine. You could do that. Maybe you realize that this is not your cup of tea after I do these presentations with you. But you do have to understand, is that an excuse or is this truly not for me? You have to know the difference, because a lot of people will say, well, this is for me and this is a really interesting business and I really want to make the sums of money that Monica says I could probably make with this if I do the work, but I don't have time because of this and I don't have time because of that. My job is soul sucking and and you make excuses and then you don't do anything. And then we end up from going another 10 years of your life. And then you look back going, I wonder what my life would have been like if I would have actually done something in 2020, 2021, 2022, if I would actually started my business. Because here we are 10 years later and I'm still in the same boats, working for the same schmuck that I don't like, doing the same freeway run to and from work, not affording a vacation, not being able to do this, not being able to do that. And, do you really want to be that person? Because if not, then now is the time for you to make some different decisions in your life. All right. And so it's important for you to understand that wealth building is a process. This is not something that happens snap, snap, snap in 10 minutes. You do have to go through the process of being able to make this work. So I always bring this up as an example because it just floors me that people are like this. But it floors me that even though we are resilient people of Americans in this country, and I've met some amazing people in this country and all over the world for that matter, but I've met some of the dumbest of dumb people as well on the flip side. And so this one particular person years ago, this was when I was selling the apartment building cash flow system. We're talking 10 years plus, 12 years plus ago. It was a $97 download at the time. And this person's like, I want a refund because I bought your course a few days ago and I didn't get rich in real estate yet. So I just want to return this. And it's just like, what? Are you serious? To be able to close escrow on an apartment building usually takes between 45 and 60 days just to close escrow. And that's after you found a property. That's after you put it under contract. That's after, you've gone through the due diligence process. This is 45 to 60 days after all that. And he's like, well, I didn't get rich in a couple days from apartment building investing, so I want a refund. It's like, are you kidding me? The wealth building of any kind is a process. Anybody who's a multimillionaire and a multi-billionaire is going to tell you that wealth building is a process, whether you're building a business from scratch, whether you're doing an investment proposition, whether you're doing any kind of wealth building or investment building is going to be a process. There are steps involved. And anybody who tells you that it happens overnight is not being truthful with you, because you can actually set up a business within a couple days. You can set up a business in a couple weeks, but it's not going to happen within 10 minutes. And anybody who tells you that it's going to happen within 10 minutes, unfortunately, is lying to you, because every single type of worthy wealth building is going to be a process. You just have to be able to go within the process. And then, of course, there's processes within processes. Like when we're building out our money funnels, there's processes within the process of building the business of internet marketing. You have to do the processes within building, your funnels, your money funnels out. So there's processes within processes. And so you have to understand that there's other processes too. And then you grow into wealth. So you might not be ready to be making 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month, because mentally you're only prepared to be making between 5 and 10,000 a month, because that's what you're used to from your current job. So you might not be able to wrap your head around making that kind of money yet. And you have to grow into it. You have to say, okay, well, now I'm making 5,000 a month from my business. Now I'm ready to make 10,000. So then you start making 10,000. You're like, okay, now I'm making 10,000. Now I'm ready to make 12,000. Now I'm ready to make 15,000. You grow into it, because if you have an overnight success, you could potentially fall to losing everything virtually overnight. And the reason that would happen is because you start to self-sabotage yourself on a subconscious level, because you're simply not ready for that level of success. So it's actually dangerous for you to go from 5,000 a month to 100,000 a month, because then you start to sabotage it mentally and emotionally and subconsciously. You're like, I don't deserve this. I've never had this before. This must be a mistake. This can't possibly be my reality. And so you start to then self-sabotage yourself, even on a subconscious level. And then you're wondering why the business isn't working anymore. And then you're wondering why, oh, this must be my luck. It's just my luck that these things happen to me. See, everybody, it's my luck. This happened for 1 month, and then all of a sudden I'm going into a downward spiral. I honestly believe that this might be the issue with Bev. So many of you know of Bev. She's over 70 years old. She's making over 85,000, and some months she makes over $100,000 in net profits per month with her web building, or her funnels that she has. And she's told me this. We've had conversations about this where she called me on the phone, and I would say, how are things going? And it's not really with the money part, because the money stays relatively stable with her. But I'm noticing that the more money she makes, the more health problems she seems to have. So on her lower months, like when she starts to like dip down, like for example, if she's been in the hospital for a couple months and she comes out, and all of a sudden her income's dipped from like 85,000 to like in the 40 to 50,000 range, which is still pretty damn good, by the way. Then all of a sudden her health will come back, and she'll get really back into the business. She'll do a deep dive into the business and start fixing everything and ramping up some more marketing campaigns online. And then all of a sudden she'll get up between the $80,000 and $100,000 mark, and all of a sudden her health starts to slip again. It's like, what the hell is going on here? How is it that your health is slipping? And so then her health will slip back, and then she'll be dropped back to between 60 and 80,000 a month, and then all of a sudden her health will come back. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that her physical body hasn't grown into health, or into the wealth aspect of it, which there's other ways that this could play out. It's not just necessarily you sabotaging the actual business, but you're sabotaging your health and other things as well, because she grew up a life of poverty, and most of her life was poverty. And so this could be her self-sabotage, where she doesn't feel like she's worthy enough to enjoy the wealth that she has. So every single time that she's making $100,000 a month, she ends up back in the hospital. And you might argue, well, maybe it's because of the stress of the business. It's like, no, it's not the stress of the business. It's because that is the point in time where she has told me that she's going to start traveling and doing all these things. And then all of a sudden she ends up in the hospital. And it's because she feels on some level she's not worthy of traveling, and she's not worthy of living the lifestyle of the rich and famous, if you will. And so she ends up back in the hospital. So there's different ways that this plays out. So you do have to grow into wealth. This is not something that should be overnight, because if it is overnight, it's like, for example, it's the rock star syndrome, where somebody will go from, trying to pull out change out of the couch to be able to buy a burrito, to all of a sudden having a quote unquote overnight success and hitting it big as a rock star or as an actor or actress. And all of a sudden sudden they start pissing the money away really quick, it's because they're not used to the money. They don't have the energy level it requires, or the discipline or the responsibility level that it requires to be wealthy. And so they piss it all away, and then they end up bankrupt. It's because they didn't grow into their wealth. You have to grow into your wealth to be able to sustain it long term. And this does not happen overnight. Yes, you could very well start a very successful business in the next few weeks, or the next even couple of days with the strategy I'm going to be teaching you today, but it doesn't happen overnight. You do have to give yourself that patience element. And of course, I will tell you this is from a personal standpoint. Money alone will not make you happy. And I spent my 20s and 30s only going after money. All right, that was the only thing that I was interested in. And then when I realized, after I had millions of dollars in assets and all the cars I could ever want and the house that I wanted and everything that I wanted, there was a moment where I was just, I don't know if I had a nervous breakdown or what happened, but I realized that that's not what life's about. I was sitting there going, okay, now what? I literally sat there and said, now what? Do I go after more money? That's not really appetizing or palatable to me. I don't want to do that. I've already done that. There's only so much more I can want. There's only so much more I could realistically need. Now what do I do? And I actually had this very poignant moment in my life where I realized that because it was all about, attaining the money, that I didn't really have anything of purpose. And so then I have to shift my whole entire perspective on my life now. And now I work in service. And so when I'm building my money funnels for my students, it's for service. When I'm teaching you guys, and this is one of the reasons why I stopped training and then I came back into training, because it gave me a sense of purpose and service. I needed to have that. I needed to have that sense of service for others to be able to keep me going, because the money itself was just, it's very empty when you get to the top of the pyramid and you realize you have everything. And if there was no sense of purpose or passion or service behind what you were doing, then it all comes crumbling down upon you very quickly, like within a fraction of a second. It happens that way. So maybe for you, it's to be able to get the money together to where you can donate to a charity that means a lot to you, or maybe it's to start a charity, or maybe it's to build wells, to dig wells out in Africa, or to fund, certain projects that are very meaningful to you. Maybe it has something to do with your church. It could be a lot of things, but if you feel like there's some kind of backing of service or purpose behind why you're making this money, then you won't crumble when you get to the top. So this is a very important element that you come to grips with, is that you have to find some element of purpose and service behind what you're doing. Because if you don't, then you're going to find that it's going to be a very rough road when you get to the very top and you're sitting there by yourself and you're contemplating what you did with your life. And if it was all for the money and no other reason, it's going to be a very miserable point for you. Of course, it's better to be miserable and rich than miserable and broke, but I do strongly recommend that if there's no point in service in what you're doing, like for example, if you're selling a bunch of stuff online and there's no point in service doing that, then you do have to find some point in service and purpose in where the money is going. So you could take some money for yourself and then definitely take some money for your church or some money for your charity or for whatever it is, just to constantly give you that point of service. So these are the things that I'm going to have you start thinking about as we go along here. So the process. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get to where you want to be. And then once you are willing, by making that decision and deciding and then committing to go forward, then you have to be able to be willing to do whatever it takes. And then, of course, putting together a plan, doing the actual plan, by first collecting data, doing your basic research, taking what we call calculated risks, testing your data by actually going out there and marketing a product or launching your funnel or driving traffic to your website, doing something, and then tweaking anything that's not working, and then ultimately repeating the process. So you're essentially over time ideally forging your own system. So you could start with my blueprint, which I'm going to be giving to you over the next few days. But ultimately, you do have to create your own system that over time will become uniquely your own, because not everybody's exact, precise blueprint is going to work for them, for other people. Like, for example, my blueprint, my 100K in 100 days blueprint isn't for everyone. And so that's why I always tell people, well, take what you can off of my blueprint and then create your own blueprint over time, because this is the blueprint that has to tailor-made fit for you. It cannot be something that I create for you, because I don't know your personality. I don't know your likes, your dislikes, and only you know all of those things about yourself. And then you can create your own system based on your lifestyle and what you want, and what you need. Because after all, you might only want a business that can give you like 5 or 10,000 extra a month. You don't want to build some multi-million-dollar company, in which case you make a plan for yourself that could allow you to fit for that lifestyle that you're looking for. So we all know that wealth doesn't happen to you. This is not some lottery ticket type of thing where you go to the local 7-Eleven and buy a lottery ticket and hope that it just happens for you. You actually have to create wealth by working your process and working this process over and over again. Once you discover that the process that you've created or the process you're following is truly successful. So it's wash, rinse, repeat after you've created a successful blueprint that's working for you. So that's as simple as that. So one of the components that I like to start off with before we actually get into the nitty-gritty of building your first business out is to talk about the magic. And the magic is, this is part of that mindset stuff that I was telling you about, and that is to start the process of visualizing and creating in your mind at least a plan. All right, I love plans. And I think it's because a lot of people out there have no clue as far as where they want to go, what they want to do. If you ask any random bloke off the street, you pull them aside, you say, "Hey, do you know what you want with your life? Do you know exactly what you want?" The answer is going to be no, or I don't really know, or I kind of maybe have an idea, but not really. Most people have no idea where they're going, and then they wonder why they don't get there. It's like, well, listen, if you actually showed up at LAX and walked up to the Delta ticket counter and said, "I just want to go somewhere. I just want to get off the ground in an airplane, but I want to go somewhere," the first thing they're going to ask you is, "Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?" And I know this seems so obvious when we're going to an airport or the ticket booth at a bus station, but why is it that when it comes to life, which is the most important part of why we're all here, why most people have no idea where they're going? They have no idea what they want. And yet they expect to get something different from the life that they have now, but they have no idea what they want in the first place. And so this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love plans, is because I like to know where I'm going, at least have some idea of where I'm going, and then actually start the process of creating a plan, because that in and of itself is magic. There's a book called Write It Down, Make It Happen. It's a really awesome book. It's highly recommended. Again, it's called Write It Down, Make It Happen. If you have time to read that or get it off Amazon, I recommend that you do that. But there's some magic when you write things down, because it's a level of commitment on your conscious and your subconscious mind. It's almost like you're tapping it into a tablet, where you're actually ingraining it in stone that this is what's going to be. This is my plan. This is where I want to go. This is my dream. And then once you write down the plan or the bigger vision of what you want to do, then you just chunk it down in what we call baby steps to slowly but surely work your way to the plan. And then, of course, we always have to have some give or flexibility in our plan, because sometimes maybe the one thing that we tried didn't really work the way we thought it should. So then we just have to alter the plan and be a little flexible and tweak it a little bit to now end up doing a little bit differently. Maybe some of the strategies or techniques we're using, but we just keep moving forward is the goal. We don't ever stop. We just keep moving forward, tweaking and being flexible, but yet still consistently working toward the plan. Because what I'm about to show you can actually put you in 100% retirement in 36 months or less. Now, I hate the word retirement. I really, really do. I can't stand that word, actually. So I like to use what's called new life, if you will, instead of retirement. But maybe for you, it is retirement. Maybe you're up at that age where you really want to retire. So whatever you want to call it, whether it's retirement or new life, this is what I want to give to you. This is my gift to give to you, is the actual plan. It's a proven, tested and proven plan that can actually change absolutely everything for you, right? But a nuance here. You have to understand the plan, and you must follow the plan. It's not just a matter of, okay, yeah, I know what she's talking about, or I know how this whole thing works, but Dancing with the Stars is on tonight, or a CSI is on tonight, or I got to watch the news, or all these excuses. then that means that you understand the plan, but you don't follow the plan. And if you don't follow the plan, you're never going to be successful with the plan. Okay. So you have to have these two components to make this work. And if you don't, then you're never going to be successful. So you're probably wondering, well, what's the plan? What am I doing? And one of the things I like to start off with is the overall schematic of what I want you guys to see. So this is the overview of wealth building. And the overview of wealth building is very, very simple. And I like to show this diagram at most of my seminars because I want it to be very, very clear on what you're doing. So you take your aggressive income business, which is what we're going to be talking about over this weekend, and then you ultimately put it into real estate. Buy and hold passive income real estate. So again, you make money from your aggressive income business, which we're going to be talking about a lot of different aspects of that in the coming days. And then you ultimately funnel that money into small apartment buildings and so forth, and so that you actually have passive income so that you don't have to keep working after that 36-month time frame. So it's my job to show you how you'll be getting this cash through your aggressive income business. And that's going to be using the internet, the power of the internet to do that. And then ultimately, like I said, you'll be funneling all this extra cash that you're making into passive income assets so that you can ultimately get that monthly passive income and ultimately retire in 36 months or less. Now, say you fail, quote unquote fail, which by the way, there is no such thing as failure. So for those of you that are actually fearful of failure, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as failure. Failure does not exist. What there is maybe a result that you didn't expect or a result that you did not want, but that is not failure. All right, that is not failure. Failure does not exist. It's only a figment of your imagination. All right, so if you can kind of reframe what failure means, and failure is not failure, failure does not exist, then you are not so afraid of failure because it doesn't exist anymore. You know, I used at my retreat a couple weeks ago, which again, that's another time that seems like it's 100 years ago with everything that's been going on. But we did this retreat in Hawaii. And one of the illustrations that I used during this retreat was how AI, which is artificial intelligence, which is ultimately a computer, and this computer can actually go from not knowing how chess works, the game of chess, to actually beating any world champion within 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason that AI is able to do this, well, first of all, it's a computer, obviously. But the biggest reason that AI, this is what computer scientists have been able to discover, is the biggest reason why AI is able to go from not knowing the game of chess to simply watching the game of chess and being able to beat any world champion within 15 to 20 minutes is because they don't psych themselves out. Okay, what they do is they say, okay, we're going to try to play chess. We're going to figure out this game and we're going to keep playing it until we actually succeed at this. We're not going to psych ourselves out. We're not going to throw ourselves on the floor and start crying when we don't fail, when we don't make it work, and when we fail, or when we don't win the game. We're not going to go ahead and sit in a corner and cry about how God hates us because, you know, we didn't win the game. We're not going to say, oh, we don't deserve this because we didn't win the game. AI, which is artificial intelligence, or a computer, doesn't do any of those things that us human beings do with our brain. And so the reason they are able to be successful within 15 to 20 minutes and beating any world champion from going from not even knowing the game of chess to beating any world champion in 15 to 20 minutes is because they take their failures as a learning experience. And they say, well, that move didn't work, and that move didn't work, and that move didn't work, but that move did work, and that move worked, and that move worked, and this one didn't work, and that one worked, and this one didn't work. And then they actually learn over time. Now, of course, a human being is a little slow sometimes to learning. But the thing that you need to understand is you have to take the psychological and emotional element out of it. You got to stop thinking you don't deserve it. You got to stop thinking that the gods hate you. You got to stop thinking that, you know, this is happening because you have bad luck. You have to just understand this is all a game, and you just have to understand how the rules of the game work. And then you just have to keep tweaking the game until it works to your ultimate benefit. That's the goal here. That's the secret here. And so if AI can do it, just by the mere fact of knowing that failure does not exist, failure is a figment of your imagination, and failure is just a result that you did not want, and keep tweaking it until you get a result that you do want. That's the key to success in absolutely anything, not just this, but anything that you ever want to do, is to take the things that didn't work and not do them again. All right. If it didn't work, don't do it again. Try something different this time. Right. So that's the key. That's the goal of of success. And that's how you are able to be successful, is understanding and reframing that failure is not what you think it means. Failure is just simply getting a result that you did not want, and then to continue tweaking the process until you get the result you do want. So there is no such thing as failure. So the piece of magic that I want to share with you is creating a plan that's simple, ideally a plan that you'll stick to, something that you have passion for, to have motivation to continue doing the business that you want to do. And knowing those things, you could actually shape any life that you want. So this is something that I realized recently, is that if I wanted to do something, I had to create a new plan for it, a plan that I knew I'd stick to. There are certain plans and lofty goals that I have, but they're ones that I won't stick to a plan with. And so if I'm going to do something new in my life, I'm going to have to choose something I really want to do that I'm passionate for, that I could build a plan that I know I'm going to stick to on a daily basis. And by stick to, I mean you do it every single day. Even if it's only 15 minutes in a day, you have to do it every single day. And it has to be something that you're passionate about, because I've noticed that I've done things for money in the past, and I've done these projects for money. And then when I build up a multi-million-dollar business, I realized I didn't really like that at all after all. So I end up having to do the painstaking process of selling it, or breaking pieces apart and selling pieces of the business. And so from me to you, I consider us friends, because I know a lot of you I've met over the years in different seminar events, and if I've never met you, I will definitely be meeting you soon. But as a friend to a friend, I have to tell you that if there's one thing I wish somebody as a mentor would have told me years back, and is that I wish somebody would have told me to start something that I'm passionate about, a business or a product or something that I really, really like. Because it's a tough road going if you're going to be getting into a business that you just do not like, just for the money. Because the money you'll start making, but then when things start to become complicated, or the business gets bigger, you have to hire employees and get a warehouse one day, God forbid, it's going to be a business that you're not going to want to be in anymore. And then you're wondering, well, what do I do? Because now I've created this massively wealthy, successful business on a monetary level, but I just don't like the business at all, right? So I don't want to see any of you get involved in that. And again, if I had a mentor pull me aside 20 years ago to tell me this key information, my life would have probably been different. Well, probably not, because I'm such a hard-headed individual. I probably would have done anything I wanted to do, but I would have ultimately come to the same place, which is I wish I would have started something I was really, really passionate about, because then it would have made the journey interesting and fun. Because the whole point of life is to make your journeys fun, right? It's not just about the destination. If you're doing this only for the destination, again, you're going to find yourself at the top of the pyramid, very, very miserable and sad, because you're going to realize you did all this for the money, and the money didn't bring you the rainbows and the trumpets and the red carpet like you thought it was going to bring you. It's just, you just made money. That's it. So if you can build a business where your journey is blissful and happy and interesting and something that you enjoy, then when you finally do get to the peak, there really is no peak, because you just keep moving forward in a business that isn't really a job. It's fun. That I don't know who quoted it, but somebody, one of the multimillionaires in the world, said, you never have to work a day in your life if you're doing what you're truly passionate about. And that, I'm just, paraphrasing there. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, you never have to work another day in your life, because it's not considered work anymore. It's considered fun every single day. And so I wish somebody would have told me that. So when you start to think about the different businesses that I'm going to bring to you between now and the end of these 3 days, I want you to start thinking about the things that you really like, that you have a passion for, because then now the journey will be fun and happy. And then when you finally reach the peak, you will realize that you had fun the entire time, and it wasn't, just for the money. So you need a whole picture in order for you to understand how to set all of this up for yourself. And it simply means that you have to take a look at the very end first. You want to know exactly what you want to be doing once you retire or once you have your new life. This includes, what is your daily routine going to look like? Where are you going to be living in the country or the world when you are, where you want to be financially? What is it that you want your life to look like? What is your meaningful project or business or hobby? What's that going to look like once you retire? Doing nothing is not going to be a goal, because I don't know of a single retired individual, except somebody who is bedridden or sick, that wanted to just sit there and watch TV once they retire. I don't know of a single person who's ever wanted to do that. If you've ever noticed, there's a lot of retirees that decide they want to play golf, or they want to take watercolor classes, or they want to take water aerobics, or whatever they want to do, but they're not just sitting on their ass watching TV. They're not doing that. They want to travel. There's a lot of different things they want to do. So what does that mean for you? What does that look like for you? So we want to get that end vision for yourself to see what it is. So instead of calling it retirement, we're going to call it a life vision. And this is going to be your new life. So this is the first part of the secret. This always works every single time when people do this with me, is that when they're able to see the vision of what they want their life to look like at the very end, then all you need to do is work your way backwards and figure out what it's going to take and what you have to do to get there. And of course, you need a plan to be able to make that work. And this is the plan that I'm going to give you during all of this. All right. So we are here now where the yellow X is, and then you have something called the I quit date. All right. So we're going to start filling in some of these dates for you. Now, it can't be too far into the future, because if it's too far, you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to be motivated. But if it's too short, it's not going to be attainable. So we have to choose something in between. All right. And so we have a whole plan on how this works. And if you have a piece of paper, if you could take it out, like preferably a blank piece of paper or even a notebook piece of paper, and I want you to actually draw this out, because we're going to actually have some significant dates here for you to draw. And I want you to actually choose an I quit date. In fact, I actually chose all of these dates for you. You could alter them if you'd like to. But this is how it works. So what we do is the first part of it, we draw a line and we put an X where we are now, and we put an I quit date in the future. And I'll give you some ideas on what the I quit date could be, so you don't have to fill that out now. But I mainly want you to focus on putting that arrow in the halfway mark where it says halfway point date there. And I want you um, to write the very first part of that before you get to the halfway point. It's going to be called make aggressive income, and you're going to write that down. We're going to write dates down on how this is going to work, and you're going to write building your pot. So basically, you're building your pot to be able to ultimately put this money into passive income. So at the halfway point date, that's when you're going to start looking for properties, looking for things to invest in, which, by the way, there's never been a more perfect time to do the property part of this. Actually, both of these things, quite honestly, but very heavily into the property part, because by the time you get to your halfway point, there's going to be a ton of foreclosures on the market. There's going to be a ton of inventory, especially in the commercial real estate or the multifamily space, where you're going to be able to get a property for much less than you were able to get it last year. So this is a perfect time for you to be starting with this. So you might not be ready to invest in passive income real estate for the next several months or even the rest of this year, but by the time the halfway point comes, there'll be a lot of inventory to be had to where you can actually pick up some pretty cheap apartment buildings, some smaller ones between, like, say 5 and 12 units, and you'll be able to pick up a lot of them, but with the money that you're making with your aggressive income. So that's what the goal is here, is by the halfway point date to ultimately be able to start putting money into your passive income real estate. And then from the halfway point, yes, you'll still be running your business on the aggressive side, but you'll also be focusing on investing as well. So that's essentially how it works in a nutshell. And so we need to choose a date in which you're going to be able to quit your current business, your current job, whatever it is, forever. And what is your date? Choose something that's realistic. It's not too far away. I'll give you a suggestion on what you should pick. But you should pick something between 18 and 24 months away, because if it's 36 months or if it's 5 years, it's like way too far away. And it just seems for most people to not really be attainable. So again, we really need to focus on what that new life is going to be. What do you envision your life to be like once you are able to not only get your aggressive income up and running, but also your passive income? And then you can get to the point where your passive income surpasses what your monthly requirements are to be able to sustain your household. So then at that point, you could choose, do I want to continue with my aggressive income, keep pouring money into passive income assets, or do I want to just give it all up and walk away? What does your new life look like? And so if you could finish this sentence, and this is something else I want you to write down. I have always wanted to pursue blank, and now I finally can. So what is that blank? Is it surfing? Is it writing a novel? Is it, traveling the world? What is it that you've always wanted to pursue? Learning golf? fill in the blank. It could be a couple different things. You know, you might want to say, I've always wanted to pursue oil painting and golfing, and now I finally can. So you could put a couple of things in there. You don't want to load it up too much, but you want to, include two things, maybe one thing, maybe up to three things. And you want to finish that sentence. So I want you to write this down. Take a moment to write this down. I've always wanted to pursue blank, and now I finally can. So take a piece of paper out and write that down right now. It's important that you do these exercises with me because this helps you set up your success. It helps you set up your mindset. It helps you set up the whole process of what we're going to do as we unfold with all of our marketing strategies that we're going to be talking about between now and the next few days. Okay, so hopefully all of you have at least some sentence down there. And you could change it or add to it later on, but we want to at least have one thing. So I've always wanted to pursue traveling the world, and now I finally can. Or I've always wanted to pursue learning golf, and now I finally can. So at least you have something there. That's all that matters, is that you have something. And then now back to the line. All right, so we now have two things. We have the I quit office party, right? Or if you don't work in an office, just roll with me there on that. We're going to write down a date. We're going to work our way backwards to where we are now. And then we're going to fill in the blanks. That's what we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to help you do this part. All right. Just so that we can actually do this together. So I want you, for right now, this could be on a separate sheet of paper. You could take your X, you draw a line across the sheet of paper. You want it to be on a horizontal way. You don't want it to be a vertical way because it won't give you enough space. So you want to turn your page to the side so that you could actually draw your X, draw your line across, and then draw your I quit office party with the arrow at the very end. And then what we're going to do together in the next few moments is we're going to actually work your way through this. But the very first thing I want you to do before we do the actual filling in all of the blanks on all of our dates is I want you to find your financial freedom point. Now, what the financial freedom point is, it's the weekly financial amount that you need to sustain yourself today. I'm not talking about the future lifestyle when you're going to be a baller and you're going to have your Ferrari and all that other stuff. I'm talking about what weekly financial amount do you need today in order to live comfortably and sustain your current lifestyle. And so what we're going to do is then multiply that by 4 because there's 4 weeks in a month, and we need to find what we call your monthly financial freedom point, which will actually help start the process, because you're not going to be able to quit your current job or business until you're able to match that current financial freedom point, at least with your aggressive income, but ideally with your passive income. All right. So you could choose one of the two. If you quit your job or business when you reach that with your aggressive income, then it's going to take you a little longer to get your passive income rolling. But if you quit your job or business after you get that monthly amount with your passive income, meaning with your real estate proceeds that come in every single month, then you definitely have it made at that point. So we want to find your financial freedom point. This is going to be a monthly amount. It starts with your current, what do you currently need every single week, and then also ultimately, what do you need every single month to sustain your current lifestyle? Again, not your future lifestyle. And this is living comfortably. We're not canceling cable. We're not going to spam and eating spam. We're not, using coupons or any of that stuff. We're talking about just living comfortably at your current lifestyle. How much money do you need? All right. And that will establish our first financial freedom point here. And so when you have the financial freedom point that you've just indicated on your piece of paper, we want to write it in the corner of our little graph that we started with the line, with the X and the line across. Once you match your financial freedom point to your passive income, that's when you can actually retire. That's what my rules are. Of course, you can go either way with this, but those are my rules, all right? So to be able to reach the financial freedom point that you need or that you have on the page, whether it's $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month to live comfortably now, I doubt most of you are at $20,000 a month that you are spending today, right now. Most of you are probably between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. And so for you to reach that goal of being able to get your aggressive income going, you need to use your money funnel strategies, a home-based business strategy, or an internet strategy, which you'll be learning today here. And then ultimately putting that money into real estate, preferably smaller properties like single-family residences or homes, quads, which are fourplexes, and small apartment buildings, and including also 2 mobile home parks. And so this is kind of how it looks, all right? something that I wish I knew decades ago. Again, this is the basic funnel concept, your overall overview funnel concept, which is to take your money that you're making from aggressive income, put it into small properties to ultimately be able to retire. That's the goal. This is something I wish a mentor would have told me years ago. So we're going to start filling this in. This is your new life timeline, all right? And so you don't have to worry about the boxes at the top. You could jot some ideas and some things down, but basically I'm putting you in the businesses that you need to be put in, so that you don't have to figure anything out. So let's just say that you need $10,000 a month to meet your current financial freedom point. For many of you, it might be less. So the amount that you need per week is $2,500. And say that we are now putting ourselves at April 1st, 2020 for now, and that our financial freedom point will be our actual I quit date is December 31st, 2020. So that'll ultimately also be our December 31st, 2021 will also be the time that we actually can retire. So the halfway point between all of that is going to be January 15, 2021. All right. So I want you to write all these things down, just so that you don't have to try to figure all this stuff out later. So I actually created your entire plan for you already. So you don't have to think about your financial freedom date or your I quit date. So you don't have to think about the time that you're going to start. I'm giving you April 1st. You don't have to think about the halfway point because I'm giving you January 15, 2020. Just make sure you write all this stuff down. And I'm giving you the amount that you need per month to live comfortably at $10,000 a month. Now, if it's more than that, you're going to have to adjust the figures just a little. But most of you could probably live comfortably with $10,000 a month. And if you cannot, then we need to have a chat, because I live in Southern California and I live in LA County. And even with my mortgage and my high taxes that I have and everything, I could still squeeze a lifestyle out of $10,000 a month. So where you are, if you are unable to squeeze a lifestyle out of $10,000 a month, we need to have a chat, or you need to move on to Manhattan or wherever you are that is requiring so much, money suck there. Okay. So I want you to take the time to write all this stuff down, these dates, the line, everything. You already started the line and the exits and the X's and the financial freedom I quit date and all that. So just fill out the rest and just put this on your page. I'll give you a couple seconds to do all that. So while you're doing all of that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing to get to that point. Okay. So we're going to have an internet cash flow business. I'm going to be training you on that today. And you're going to ramp up your business, socking away cash, as much cash as you possibly can, still working your current job or business until you get to the halfway point. When you get to the halfway point, which I have on this chart as January 15, 2021, it's then and only then at that point are you going to start to acquire multifamily assets. You're going to start acquiring fourplexes, maybe even a couple duplexes or triplexes. You might even have a couple single family homes in there, depending on if you can get a really good deal and not have a mortgage on those. You can get some small apartment buildings between 5 and 12 units to start, and then maybe you want to work your way up to like 24 units or 36 units. And so you ultimately start feeding this cash that you're getting from your internet cash flow business into your multifamily assets starting January 15th. Now, I still don't want you to quit your job or your business, right? Because I'd like you to ultimately get enough multifamily assets going to where you can meet that $10,000 a month or whatever your monthly requirement is to have your comfortable current lifestyle through your passive income real estate. The passive income has to meet or exceed your current financial freedom point, which I created as 10,000 a month here for this chart. It has to exceed it in the multifamily space. That's where it has to be so that you can ultimately retire. I'd like you to keep your income coming in from the internet cash flow business until the income just evaporates or doesn't happen anymore. As the internet is, things change so quickly that sometimes an internet strategy works today and it doesn't work tomorrow. But I want you to take it to the hill. Take it as long as you possibly can, and you might get a 5-year run out of it. And I want you to keep that internet cash flow coming in for as long as possible to create more multifamily passive income assets coming in, or cash flow coming in, so that you may be able to have a $20,000 or $30,000 a month passive income coming in until the music stops on your internet side. That's what the goal is. But to squeak by, this is what your plan is. You actually have to have your financial freedom point set at December 31st, 2020, which is really realistic. It's a realistic goal, starting from now, April 20th. April 1st, 2020, and then the midpoint being January 15th, which will be the point in which you'll start to invest in multifamily. Like I said, there's no more perfect time than to start now, because by then there'll be a ton of foreclosures and inventory on the market to be able to buy. So what's awesome with today's technology is that you can actually run a multi-million-dollar per year business from a corner or a spare room of your house with no employees working part-time. I absolutely love this. I love this business. I love it, love it, love it. I'm going to share with you exactly what the business is. We're going to start probably after the break, but I'm going to go through this for a little bit longer with you before we take our first break in 5 minutes. You can easily set this up with a website in the very beginning. You don't even need a website. I'm going to show you how that works. You can start profiting very quickly, actually within a few short weeks on the long side. But technically, you could actually start to profit from these things within the next few days if with a certain type of type of product that I'm going to share with you. You can completely automate the money funnel or the money making process, actually putting in a lot less time than you'd be working your full-time job or even working a part-time job at, 24 to 32 hours a week. It doesn't even take that long to do this business. If you could somehow find between 6 and 12 hours extra a week, and we're talking like an extra Saturday or Sunday, or maybe part of a Saturday and some of the days of the week to do this, you could absolutely do this. Again, you cannot be one of these people that's making excuses. You actually absolutely have to want to do this and make a decision to commit to do this. And you could do this. You could find the time to do this. But never before has there been a time where you could leverage this type of opportunity online than now. Because I'm still amazed that you could sell products all over the world just from having a laptop and an internet connection. You could set up a complete website when you need to within just hours of starting this business. You could start advertising like almost instantly, getting orders like the same day you start advertising. I've done that before. I've set up funnels. I've set up different things that I've done. I've actually started getting orders the very same day I actually set up my first money funnels. And so you could do the same too. With what I'm going to be teaching you today, we're going to be talking a little bit about getting private label products and selling them as your own brand. That's a possibility as well. So we're going to be talking about that. Now, if you want to be on the information publishing side, and I'm going to be explaining a lot more about what this is all about as we go along here. But you could actually have someone write a book for you or actually get something called a private label information product, and you could actually sell it as your own under a private label, and you could sell what's called info products or download products. So that's a possibility for you as well, and not actually have to ship anything at all. So remember, you want to keep your big picture going. Always keep that bigger picture in your mind. And that is, you want to determine your financial freedom point and your desired income point after that. So you might start with $10,000 a month for your financial freedom point. Your desired income point might be $20,000 a month. You want to keep your level of lifestyle the same. So right when you start making money, you don't want to become a baller overnight, right? You don't want to run out and buy that Mercedes or the big screen TV or start loading up on debt. You definitely want to keep your lifestyle the same for as long as possible. Keep your job or current career going as long as you possibly can, which is your current source of income. Do not increase your lifestyle money requirements until you've reached your retirement mode, meaning that you have enough income properties, enough passive income properties to be able to sustain your current lifestyle. And then, and only then, will you be able to now amp up whatever baller lifestyle you want when you start to get additional, I repeat, additional passive income coming in. You have to be able to wait for that amount. So you just have to be a little patient. It might take a few years for you to be able to buy that Mercedes, but it's going to pay off. That waiting is going to pay off because you don't want to tap out all of your resources that you have coming in from your internet cash flow business going out to Mercedes payments and big screen TV payments and a new house payment, all these things, when you should be putting that money into your passive income real estate. And then you could then get the Mercedes, and then you can get the big screen TV, and then you can get the new house and all the things that you want. And so it's really critical for you to wait. And by the way, it will also benefit you to wait because we're going into a recession right now. There's going to be all kinds of deals on new cars. There's going to be all kinds of deals on new car leases. There's going to be all kinds of deals on new houses that you want to buy. There's going to be all kinds of incentives if you do decide to sit tight and be a little patient during the process, because then you'll be able to get better deals on all of these things as we careen deeply into the recession over the next year or so. So by doing all of this in the next 12 to 36 months, you will actually be put into retirement mode faster than ever because of everything that's been going on with the economy right now. I've never seen us slip into a bear market so quick. I think we're pretty close when we were in 2008, but even then it careened a little slowly, more slowly than we are now. 9/11 also too kind of put us into a slump. But it wasn't as quick as now. I mean, I have to tell you, this is the fastest I've ever seen us go from a bear to from a bull to a bear economy, or um, a non-recessive to a recessive economy. This is the fastest. I mean, it happened within days. Okay, guys. So this means that all the other opportunities are going to come a lot faster to you as well. But you have to be on point. You have to be willing to jump on everything, and um, you have to be willing to move on all of this stuff fast, okay? And so I have to warn you about one thing before we go on our first break, and that is what we call the X factor. And that is the single element that separates people from the doers and the losers, all right? This is what creates doers into very successful and wealthy individual, and this is what creates losers into always being losers. And it's that focus and having what we call a do or die attitude. It's the magic of eliminating all doubt and you being able to do this. You absolutely can do all of the things that I'm going to be outlining. You absolutely have to know that you can do these things that I'm outlining. You can't ever have a single ounce of doubt. If I can do this, you can do this. If other students can do this, you could do this. If Bev, who's over 70 years old, can do this, you can do this. All right. I have all kinds of people that are doing extremely well doing this because they've decided in their mind that they're going to do this. They've decided in their mind that they're capable of doing this. And they've decided in their mind that they're going to stop making excuses. And that's what the difference is between what I call the tire kickers and the losers, and the people that actually are doers and end up being successful doing this. So you have to decide right now if you're going to actually finally stop making those freaking excuses that you've been making all these years about this and that, and oh, I can't do this because of this, and oh, I can't do this because of that. No, you can do it. You can do it. You have all of the opportunities at your fingertips now. It's not the same way it was 100 years ago when our ancestors came to this country. It's a lot easier now to be successful. You could literally take your mouse and click, 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 and take your keyboard and build a multi-million-dollar business without ever leaving your house. You know, I mean, you could actually be holed up because there's a virus killing everybody in the world. You could be holed up in your house and still making a ton of money, never ever having to leave your house. There's never been opportunity to be able to do this type of business at this type of level of leverage. Never. And so if you're making excuses, it's because you're just a tire kicker and you're just always going to end up being a loser because you're going to always want to make excuses for anything that comes your way. However, if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and do absolutely everything I tell you to do and not make excuses and lose all the doubt and know that you could be successful with this, you absolutely can and will be successful doing this. All right. All right, so let's go into our first break. What I want you to do is check your email because you're going to have the next link for the next session that starts in exactly 15 minutes. So have a nice break, get yourself something to drink, get yourself a snack because we have another awesome segment up for you coming up. All right? All right.